Thank you for joining today's Power Talk. We're excited to have you all on board, and hopefully we've got some cool stuff to show you regarding the megaTower. So without any further ado, we are ready to get started. So before we get into it, I'd just like to introduce myself and my colleague. My name is Charles de Cray. I'm the Product Marketing Manager here at Freedom One. And yeah, we're lucky to have Hein on board today, who's our Research and Development Engineer. So Hein plays a critical role in the design and development of pretty much all the products that you see come through our pipeline. And of course, he had played a major role in developing the megaTower that we're going to be talking about today.
Morning, everyone.
Cool. So just a bit quick background on Freedom One. So as many of you will know, Freedom One is a proudly South African company. We've been established since 2010. And as it currently stands, we are not only the largest original equipment manufacturer in Africa, but we're also the oldest. So we're one of the few companies that are out there that actually have batteries out in the field that are older than our warranty. And yeah, in terms of our current capacity, we've grown substantially since we established ourselves in 2010, to the point of which we've now built up our manufacturing capabilities to 3,000 megawatt hours per annum. As it stands, we currently have 11 unique product ranges. So, spanning all the way from our, smaller 12-volt options all the way up to the likes of the Freedom One megaTower that we're going to be taking a look at today. In terms of our manufacturing or number of units that we've manufactured, we've put out over 150,000 units to date. Our current facility is 48,000 meters squared. So this was a facility that we moved to during the course of last year, whereby we consolidated all of our warehousing and production facilities to now be under one single roof here in Longmeadow. So without any further ado, let's jump right into it. So today we're here to talk about the megaTower. So this is quite literally our biggest and best energy storage solution that we've introduced to date. This is a innovative modular design, which basically is built to work with your high voltage requirements for your largest types of applications out in the industry. So there's been a lot of thought that's gone into the design to make this something that's fast to deploy. It makes financial sense, and obviously, the performance is the best that we currently have to offer. So let's take a look at the Freedom One megaTower. So for this particular battery, I mentioned it is a unit that has a modular design. So for this, we've utilized state-of-the-art 324 amp hour lithium iron phosphate cells. So this has allowed us to basically produce a high density 36.9 kilowatt hour battery module. We essentially use these high density modules to build up the full megaTower, whereby we stack these in multiple towers up to a certain height to get to a certain capacity and a certain voltage that we desire to give you the overall megaTower. With us using these more advanced lithium iron phosphate cells, we've also been able to enhance our warranty. So as many of you will be familiar with the likes of our light range, we support a warranty of up to 6,000 cycles. However, with the megaTower, we've now increased that to 8,000 cycles at an average depth of discharge of 80%, and we still guarantee a 60% retained capacity at the end of the warranty period. So, in doing so, we're not only offering an extremely competitive cost per kilowatt hour, but we're supporting a much longer lifespan as well. So, with those 6,000 cycles, should, let's say, the cost per kilowatt hour of the battery be slightly higher right off the bat when compared to, let's say, a light commercial 800 HP plus, you're still getting a lot more value out of it, or even more value out of it, because you're getting those 2,000 extra warranty cycles. One of the benefits of that modular design is our ability to rapidly deploy these systems. So, whereas with, our larger light commercial batteries, we would look at deploying about 200 kilowatt hours per day. That's now been increased 3x, whereby we're now able to deploy 600 kilowatt hours per day. So, for instance, our largest megaTower option, which is about 1.5 megawatt hours, would take about, give or take, 2 days to deploy. When it comes to installation, the modular design also comes into play, where we've got a slide-in design with pre-installed bus bars, which significantly simplifies the installation process once on site. Furthermore, this also allows for quick maintenance. So if there needs to be a quick swap out done on site, we've significantly reduced the downtime required to do that. And then last but not least, we've got an advanced battery management system for this particular solution, which is further complemented by the remote gateway, which allows you remote access to monitor and control your unit or apply any necessary updates. And of course, allow Freedom One's support team to assist you should an issue arise. And then last but not least, this is also something that you can integrate with the Freedom One EMS for even more comprehensive system management. So having mentioned the battery management system, I'm going to hand over to Hein to tell us a little bit more about how this works.
Right, good morning, everyone. I want to give a bit more detail on how the BMS system works for the megaTower. There's essentially two components, what we call a master and a slave BMS, or another term is a master and a remote card. So how it works is each battery module has a remote card that directly monitors the cells and measures the cell voltages, and then sends that over a separate communication network to the master BMS that does the overarching monitoring of the whole battery pack and then communication with the inverter. In the megaTower Extra and the Plus, as you can see on the diagram, there's 4 towers, each with a master BMS, which essentially means you have 4 Orion BMSs in parallel, which is very similar to the light range we all know and love. So each module has 36 cells, and the remote card measures the voltages of each cell and then sends it to the master BMS. Furthermore, the features are much the same as the existing light range. We have passive cell voltage balancing. It detects under and over voltage events. It can detect loose wiring inside the BMS, tracks the state of charge. We can measure temperatures. And then obviously a high-speed CAN bus communication with the power conversion system. And then you can furthermore parallel multiple megatowers as well, which would give you the ability to add more capacity, and then that is all supported on the communication side as well. Furthermore, we can move on, I guess, to the remote monitoring aspect of the megaTower.
Maybe before we do that, since we have this illustration of what a typical stack looks like, something I mentioned on the previous slide was the ability to easily swap out one of the modules, should a problem arise. Can you explain to us how that essentially works?
Yeah, sure. Basically, because of the modular nature of this battery, if there is a problem in one of the modules, then it has the ability for us to only swap that module, and it's not necessary for us to turn the whole battery off while we're doing the swap out. So if there's a problem on tower 1, for instance, we can isolate tower 1, do repairs and maintenance on tower 1, while towers 2, 3, and 4 can still remain operational. If we do maintenance and servicing on the light range, then the whole battery needs to be isolated in order for us to do cell level work.
Awesome. No, that's a great benefit that ensures that essentially, yeah, you don't have to shut down the full system for maintenance purposes.
Okay, then we can move on to the remote monitoring capabilities, which is also available on the Light 2 range. But essentially, we have a system that's designed to communicate with the BMS and then relay that information to a cloud portal that we have developed. Then on the cloud portal, it enables the customer to log in, and we can monitor the battery remotely to monitor the system performance. And then there's also the ability to check any kind of diagnostic trouble codes on the BMS. Furthermore, it makes it a lot easier for Freedom One to do tech support on the batteries, because we have the ability to log into the BMS remotely to get all the system information that's available from the BMS as if we were standing right next to it. This reduces the turnaround time on remote support when there is a problem. The portal also stores a lot of internal parameters on the BMS, which is available to the customer, and you can check the history of the battery for its whole lifetime with custom date ranges, and you can also see live data in real time. And yeah, that's basically covers the whole remote monitoring aspect.
Thanks, Han. And from what I've seen on the dashboard, it's quite an intuitive setup that, essentially allows you to, register your various sites and then have, your specific batteries listed per site. So, from a management aspect, it definitely helps. And then something also important about this portal is it's also where you'll actually register your warranty for your megaTower and Light 2 batteries. So if you do visit our website, you'll see that on the top right corner, we've got that FW portal logo. If you just click on that, you'll see there's an option to create an account. We've also got a link to a setup guide, essentially how do you onboard a battery onto the Freedom One portal. Awesome, thanks for that, Han. So now to take a look at the actual megaTower options that are available, we've currently got two. We've got the megaTower Plus 6M4T and the megaTower Extra 10M4T. So I'm going to just walk you through the name convention to explain to you how it works. So essentially, obviously, megaTower is a specific battery range. We then have the Plus and the Extra. Now, something to note is that that Plus and the Extra merely refers to, or simply refers to, the voltage category that battery falls within. We then have the module configuration. So for instance, on the Plus, we've got the 6M4T. That basically means you've got 6 modules in 4 towers. As with the Extra, we've got a 10M4T, which is 10 modules that are in 4 towers. Now, if we look at the part number, you'll see that we've got all of this information listed here. So you've got your FWMT, which is your Freedom One megaTower. We then state the usable the nominal capacity of that battery in the part number as well. So for the instance, on the Plus 6M4T, we've got 885 kilowatt hours. We then also state the voltage. So in this scenario, it's an HVP, HV plus. The letter that then follows that refers to the revision. So obviously this is something that's new. We've just released it. So we're on revision A. Should we make any material changes to this battery further down the line, we would then change that to a B, for instance, and so on. And then the last bit of useful information is that we also specify the maximum and minimum operating voltage. So for the Plus, for instance, that will operate between 767 and 448 volts. So you'll see on this particular battery, the Plus, we've got a nominal voltage of 691 volts, which I think will be something that's you'd be quite familiar with if you've worked with the likes of our light commercial batteries. And this basically indicates what sort of inverters this battery is compatible with, which Han is going to touch on. If you jump over to the megaTower Extra, you'll see this battery is slightly larger in size. It's a 1,475 kilowatt hour battery. And furthermore, it also has a higher voltage. So you'll see that the nominal voltage is now in excess of 1,000 volts, which is something extremely significant to this particular battery, which Han will touch on shortly. So with that being said, I'm going to hand over to Han just to give us a summary of what types of inverters you could pair with these batteries.
Yeah, so I'm going to start with the Encore HPS inverter system. It's a hybrid inverter that we are all familiar with. with the range covering from 50 kilowatt to 500 kilowatt units standalone, which can also be paralleled for up to 4 inverters. The nice thing about this inverter range is the modular DC coupled PV option, where you can slide in 55 kilowatt MPPTs to build capacity as you need, with the 500 kilowatt unit having a maximum of 12 MPPTs that can be connected. Furthermore, there's the extended 3-year warranty as well on this inverter range. And the battery is also compatible with other commercial inverter brands on the market, such as Solis and ATES as well.
Awesome. So this would be sort of your more standard commercial pairing, but then we step over to the megaTower Extra 10M4T, which now works with a more, let's say, a new inverter option. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, sure. So there's a lot to talk about with this inverter option, but let's go through the main points for this. So it's a very power dense solution, one unit being 1.5 MVA up to 1.4 megawatts. And it's an inverter aimed for utility scale applications where the manufacturer has their biggest installation is around 200 megawatts.
Mm. And I guess that's quite a significant standout feature, because we'll know that, as you mentioned on the previous slide there, your typical commercial inverters sort of reach their limitations in terms of, when it comes to the number of units that you can parallel. I mean, generally speaking, you're sort of capped at about 2 megawatts. So essentially, as Freedom One on the battery side, we've never really had a limitation on how big we can go in terms of energy storage, but rather in terms of inverter capacity.
Yeah, absolutely. So each independent inverter installation is coupled with an isolation transformer, and then you can parallel up to 4 inverters on one isolation transformer, and then they are operated in parallel. But if you have independent systems, there is in theory no limit to how many you can parallel, provided there's isolation transformers and the engineering is done correctly, which has some complexity around it. But as I said before, the biggest reference site I know of is around 200 megawatts, which shows it is possible. Whether that infrastructure is now needed in South Africa is a different question. Moving on, there's EMS integration with this inverter for the monitoring and control. Essentially, this inverter does need an external plant controller to function, unlike the other commercial inverters we are familiar with. So we offer the EMS as that plant controller with this inverter. Then there's some indicative sizes that we just put there, where you can scale these inverters in parallel with what they call a throat connected option, which is an option you buy from us, which makes it easier for you to parallel these inverters where the bus bar is running through the middle, as shown on the picture here. You also get non-throat options where the cabling is done on the bottom of the inverter, the AC cabling.
It's a very, very neat setup. And obviously this brand, so the brand name is called EPC Power, and the particular model is the CAB 1000. This is manufactured in the USA. And obviously, Han, you've been involved in the commissioning of a few of these systems now. What can you say about, the sort of the quality of the components that are used to build this unit, and essentially how it performs once it's actually installed, in comparison to other, let's say commercial inverter solutions that you've worked with before?
Yeah, so from experience, I can say that this is a complex product, and it requires a high level of understanding to commission. But one of the standout comments that we got from from getting help from EPC Power and their commissioning engineers is that the inverter behaves predictably. So as long as you understand what knobs and dials you are turning, the inverter will respond accordingly. And that I can say with definite certainty. They give you a lot of keys on the inside of the inverter, but as long as you control it correctly, it behaves predictably. And essentially, you have to tell it when on grid, how much power it needs to produce, how much power it needs to absorb. And then when in off grid, it will supply whatever the load is asking for. And then there's also, various optional extras to order with the inverter as well, which we can go into depth. It's a very long discussion, but yeah, there's few of the standout features are the parallel option, the extended reactive power capability option. There's an outdoor option as well, one for corrosive environments. There's a long list.
Yeah, and I think what I really like about this and what complements the megaTower so well is not only the fact that it's a really robust, industrial grade solution, as with the megaTower, but is the energy density. We spoke about the megaTower utilizing 324 amp hour cell modules, so that we have been able to develop the most energy dense battery that we've launched to market to date. But we've sort of done the same with this inverter in terms of having an energy dense inverter that's built for, rugged environments, it's outdoor rated, etc. So collectively, you can get a really energy dense containerized system, for instance. Something I forgot to mention earlier is that you can actually fit 4 of the megaTower extra 10M4Ts into a single 12-meter container. So that renders just under 6 megawatt hours of energy storage capacity. And that would then be paired with your CAB 1000 units, which you would connect or set up outside of that containerized unit as they are outdoor rated. Cool. So, in summary, as I mentioned, this is a much more energy dense solution that's best suited for the most demanding types of applications. So this is ideal for agricultural setups, commercial facilities, utility scale projects, etc. So, when looking to go for the larger scale projects that are out there, this is the option to consider by a long shot. And so obviously we launched the megaTower last year. So we're actually in the process of putting together a bunch of various case studies with some interesting applications that we've worked with to date. But just as a quick reference for you all, we wanted to run through our Bella Fruta installation, which was actually the first megaTower and CAB 1000 installation that we did, which Han was actually actively involved with. So it's good to have him on this call. But essentially, the background to this particular application is that we work with a customer called Bella Fruta, who are a pack house, or let's say specialize in packaging fruits such as apples and pears. And their main challenge was essentially the high overall energy costs and their reliance on diesel, whereby they got to a point where essentially they were spending up to 6 million rands on diesel per year in 2023. So at this point, it was really hurting them on the expense side, and they never had that peace of mind that they could keep their facility up and running. With that particular type of setup, if there's any downtime, that's money lost for them, by the minute, by the hour. So essentially, they already had PV installed, okay, which was obviously a good first step. But the main issue was that because there was no battery to store the excess energy that they generated, they were essentially wasting a lot of that PV energy that they were generating with those panels. So essentially, why we selected the megaTower and the EPC CAB 1000 was, number one, due to its rapid switching capabilities, its ability to seamlessly integrate with an existing PV system. And then if I can add an extra point, our ability to deploy this at a fast rate, as obviously this particular customer was really suffering with these additional expenses for diesel, excessive tariffs, etc. So they needed a system to be deployed in the fastest time possible. So the end result was that we got the megaTower Extra 10M4T and EPC Cab 1000 installed, which gave them just under 1.5 megawatt hours of energy storage capacity and 1.4 megawatts of inverter capacity, whereby we were able to fully integrate this with the existing PV, meaning that they could store that energy and then utilize it, as and when it's needed. So in summary, they were able to utilize energy arbitrage and more effectively manage their energy, avoiding those peak tariffs when they were using the PV energy that was stored earlier on in the day. We were able to integrate with the existing energy sources, being their PV system that they installed. So, there wasn't a requirement to do a full revamp. We were able to integrate with their third-party PV inverters, and ultimately provide them with power quality and reliability, where they have that peace of mind knowing that their operations will be running 24/7. They've got a reliable backup energy source, and they can utilize things like peak shaving, whereby they avoid their maximum peak demand charges, which can obviously hurt them over the long run. Han, I don't know if there's anything you want to mention about this particular installation.
I think you covered it quite well. Just another mention is that there was an existing generator installation as well, which our customer integrated with. We did this project with Energenic. So so we were able to seamlessly transfer between diesel power, grid power, and solar, and then to store excess energy from renewables into the battery.
Perfect, thank you. So just a nice showcase. I mean, really for the megaTower and Cab 1000, this is probably the on the smaller end of installations, but just a valuable insight. Obviously the benefits that we've seen here for this particular customer, cutting their diesel costs altogether, minimizing the fees that they're having to pay for electricity that they buy from the grid, can obviously be applied to even larger installations which will render even larger cost savings over the long run. Cool. So, that sort of summarizes our quick showcase of the megaTower and its respective inverters. So, in summary, why specifically choose the megaTower and why choose Freedom One? Firstly, the fact that we locally engineer and manufacture all of our products in-house here at Freedom One means that you've got a local partner that you can rely on. If there's problems that arise, you're not communicating with someone who's overseas. We are here in SA. As for customers outside of SA, we're always happy to get involved. If something's covered by warranty, we'll fly there, assist. If there's commissioning requirements, we're happy to do that. Ongoing R&D. So, not only are we constantly looking to launch new products to market, but we're also constantly trying to look at how can we improve the current portfolio. A perfect example would be, the upgrade of our light batteries to now light 2 units, which include remote gateways. We've got a strong distribution network, so not just in SA, but throughout Africa. We've also got partners in Australia, in North America, and so forth. And then, as I mentioned right in the beginning, we're the oldest manufacturer in Africa. So we've got time-tested solutions. When we put something on a warranty document, we know that that's something we can back at the end of the day. So if there are any requirements on your end to find out more about the megaTower or any of our solutions, we would advise you to reach out to one of our authorized distributors. If you go to the Freedom One website, we have a where to buy page, which will show you on a map exactly where all of our distributors are located. If not, feel free to reach out to us directly if you need some more information. You can give us a call. You can send us an email at inquiries@freedom1.co.za, or visit our websites as well. Also, be sure to make sure you're following us on our relevant social media pages: YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram.
Okay. I'm sure there's a lot of questions on the Cab 1000, so we have some good news. We have an upcoming power talk on the 6th of March on this product specifically, but we're happy to address any questions that you may have in the Q&A section.
Awesome, man. Yeah, well, we're looking forward to that one because I mean, obviously, it's quite an intricate solution, which we've just seen the tip of the iceberg today. So I'm definitely looking forward to that deep dive that you're going to be doing. Cool. So yeah, with that being said, we've reached the end of the presentation, and we're now going to open the floor to some questions. So I'd like to ask you, if you have any questions, please can you pop it in the Q&A or the comments section, and Han and I will be more than happy to assist you with whatever questions you have. So let's take a look here. Okay, so Han, we've got one here. If we're not able to answer anything right off the bat, we'll make sure that we get back to you. What is the ratio of inductive loads versus inverter size for the EPC Cab 1000?
So the Cab 1000 has full 4-quadrant operation capability if you purchase the extended reactive power option. That essentially means that the inverter is able to inject 100% reactive power into the load. So it can generate 1.5 MVAR if you ask it to do that. Obviously, if it's off-grid, then the inverter will supply whatever the load is asking for. So if you have a lot of inductive loads on the site, then obviously the inverter will support that load, but during a transient event, the bus voltage will drop to a certain extent, after which the inverter will pick it up. And how long it takes will depend on how big the load is and how inductive it is. And that's something you calibrate the droop curves during the commissioning phase.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Han. Then we've just got a question here about the C rating. So what is the rated or constant C rating of the modules? If I'm not mistaken, I think it's 0.7 C.
Yeah, so for warranty, I think it's a continuous 0.5 C discharge and a 0.25 C charge for warranty retention, but it is designed for, I think, up to 0.8 C, but I'll just need to check the spec sheet to make sure. We'll make a note to answer that question in the chat.
So yeah, just in terms of the warranty, maybe it's a good chance to maybe give a bit more information on that. So essentially, as we have done with the light battery range, we've done the same with the megaTower range, where we now support a standard warranty and an alternate warranty. So essentially, the standard warranty, which supports 8,000 cycles, will essentially require a slightly lower C rating than your alternate warranty, whereby we support 0.5 C on your discharge and 0.25 C on your recharge. Whereas with the alternate warranty, essentially whatever the maximum possible power output is of that particular battery will be allowed. However, in that scenario, cycles will then be limited to 6,000 warranty cycles. Let's have a look here. So I see we've got a price indication request. So yeah, with regards to the pricing on these solutions, guys, it's not as straightforward as like a commercial battery. I think, with Encore HPS, for instance, we can put that together very quickly. With the Cab 1000, we need to look at your exact setup requirements. And with that, we can build a comprehensive BOQ to provide pricing. So, if there is a requirement, please reach out to your authorized distributor. Or if not, you can reach out to Freedom One as well. We can help you take a look at what the ideal BOQ would be, and then also put you in touch with an authorized distributor to give you a formal quotation. I see there was a question about the portal. I think the question being asked here was, in terms of the portal, is this the Freedom One, a Freedom One branded portal, or is it something that's hosted by the Orion BMS? Yeah, it is a Freedom One portal. So essentially, you've got your Orion BMS on the battery modules for the megaTower, and that information is then pulled through from the BMS and showcased or made available on the Freedom One portal. So essentially, yeah, that's tunneled through to the Freedom One portal. Han, I don't know if there's anything you want to add there.
Yeah, it's a Freedom One product. We developed a system that integrates with the BMS to send all that information to our own cloud portal. So it's not an Orion product. The remote monitoring is a Freedom One design solution.
That's it. Thank you. So I'm just scrolling through for any more questions. If you've got anything else, please pop them through in the comments. We'll be happy to answer.
See, Roy has a question for on-site assembly. The size and weight of each battery module, it weighs around 250 kilograms. So for the megaTower Plus, we can build it on site with a hydraulic trolley. For the megaTower Extra, where there's no access for a forklift, we designed a lifting system that bolts onto the rack, and then we can lift the modules up to the topmost slot to push the modules in.
Thanks for that, Han. And maybe this is also a good opportunity for us just to explain the installation process. So, can you maybe give us a rundown of the involvement of, let's say, Freedom One's on-site build team, should an EPC look to install a megaTower solution?
Yeah, so we have on-site building teams that come and assemble the battery on-site. So we first build the rack, obviously, and then after that we slide in the modules, and then there's a full battery commissioning procedure to make sure that the battery is built correctly and operating correctly.
Awesome, thank you. Cool. If anyone's got any more questions, please pop it through. We'll give it another minute or two to see if anyone's got any queries. Otherwise, we shall conclude the webinar. Okay, awesome. I don't see any additional questions coming through. So with that being said, I'd like to thank everyone for taking the time to join us today. I hope you all found this interesting. It's definitely an exciting product. As I said, when it comes to talking about the biggest and the best in terms of energy storage technology from Freedom One, this is it. This is our probably one of our most impressive options, if not the most impressive option. Yeah, if you have a requirement for any more information, as I said, please reach out to your authorized distributor or give us a shout directly. If you want to get hold of any of the relevant documents around the megaTower, you can find all of that on the downloads page of our website.